Mm, there's a
I
recording in
also
progress.
just told you I need to go make a drink, so I don't know why you're
Yes,
going
go
there.
for it.
Well, I
You did say that.
just say we probably should tell them about just the disc thing.
That didn't show
It
up in this
doesn't.
episode, so
Yeah,
I don't
it
think it
didn't.
matters.
But we're
That
gonna
that
talk about it because it's
okay.
not here.
Mm. And maybe it doesn't show up again. We're not sure yet. Um, excuse me.
They want a computer,
Right, right.
so
Everybody wants a
do do
computer.
do.
People like computers.
I wish I had a computer. I wish I
Hmm.
had just one more computer. I have like three, but I need one more.
Oh, I wanted I want a computer, and then I could say if you had a computer, then you could podcast or something.
If I had a computer,
You could podcast.
I could just run my own Zoom, and then we have to use Zoom and just use the fourth computer as a server,
Have you ever
right?
seen, yes, have you ever seen, hold on, I need to look this up. Nelly's video for Is You?
No,
So he
I
didn't
don't
do the
think.
song. He didn't do the song for the movie, but it was at the end of the Haunted Mansion, right? The Eddie Murphy Shitfest
Oh,
movie.
it's
So
one of
when
those.
right, but they did original filming for it, but then it's based on the video is Haunted Mansion and it's like much better than the movie. It has like Nelly getting a ball of energy from like a ghost Nelly that he then throws at a zombie Nelly and shit like that.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see the movie at all.
Nobody should
So
see the movie. You just need to see the video.
I've only seen Muppet Haunted Mansion.
That oh god, that's much better than Eddie Murphy movie. Luke, I was asking if you've ever seen the video for Nelly's Is You,
No.
which is Nelly getting trapped in a haunted mansion. He just wants to throw a house party, but it turns out it's haunted.
Mm.
Are either you guys big Haunted Mansion sickos?
That's
Mm-mm.
partly why I'm bringing it up, but
I know a few people. I know a few people that are like completely obsessed. Like it is. I don't remember who it was. I have one friend where you go to their bathroom, it's all Haunted Mansion shit, and you're just like, "What is wrong with you, man?
okay.
What are
I'm
you
just going
doing?"
I'm just going Nelly deep here. Just going Nelly deep today.
All
I,
right.
I'll put that in our Facebook just for shits and giggles. It's worth watching. I just because I had just seen it like a day or two ago. Yeah, I guess we do it then.
All right, we do it. Welcome to Podcast 1999, the podcast about San Francisco, California.
That's right,
I
with
mean,
apes in it, only if it has apes in it.
inside apes inside.
Yeah.
Don't open apes inside.
Mm.
Mark, that's me.
You didn't say I'm or anything. You just said your name. That's a weird introduction. Okay, Matt.
Mark. With us, we have Luke, special guest, returning.
Mouthful of cookie.
Yeah, how can we you that grammar is correct. How do we do that? And our guest, Luke, maybe you do it that way. And we give him some
I
time to
mean,
finish his cookie as well.
Mm.
yep, we can do it that way.
Or we just shout, "It's a trap," which is today's episode of Planet of the Apes. Well,
It's a trap.
the trap, but it's hard not to just start screaming it's a trap, right?
Something I
It's
really liked
also
about
like there was barely a trap in this episode.
It could be like
I kind
nature's
of
track
like.
of a sinkhole.
I mean, I like the fact that I went into this assuming that the humans would be, or whatever, the humans and Galen. I wish there was. They need a name so I could call
The
them
fugitives.
the
Mm.
fugitives. If the gorillas trapped them, I just thought it was going to be like they are trapped by the. It wasn't that at all. It was
No,
more
no.
like a sinkhole.
Yeah. But that's a certain kind of trap. There was a in the Japanese news just yesterday, there was a sinkhole in Saitama and a truck fell into it and they had to get the guy out.
Ugh.
So it was like this
I
episode in Saitama.
I have
Fewer
like
apes.
legit fears about sinkholes.
Mm.
That's terrifying.
So is this episode terrifying for you?
I love this episode. This episode was just like watching someone lose their mind underground.
Yeah, I should read. Mark sent me a text yesterday on Facebook, which is probably worth reading as I open my phone here. What did you write me?
Open your
Sorry,
phone
I'm
corner.
vamping. I'm vamping. Oh, so many Facebook chats. Okay. Oh my God, I'm only 15 minutes into this episode, and it's just Urko screaming at people and throwing them. So yeah.
Yep.
Well, let's get into it, man. I will take a nap, and you can do the trivia and the story and such.
Okay, have a nice nap. It's a nap. Burke veered it. Wait. Damn, I was doing the story first. Great job. I'm doing great today. This is the third episode, but fifth in production order. Looking back, The Gladiators was second in production order, and Escape from Tomorrow, the first episode, was third. And I'm only saying that, Luke, because we didn't say that earlier.
I
Because I
figured,
know.
yeah.
The primary writing credit goes to Edward J. Laxo, born 1932 in San Francisco. He mostly wrote for TV from the 60s through the 80s and was best known for being one of the producers of Charlie's Angels, which he wrote 51 episodes of out of like 83. He wrote the season 3 Star Trek episode And the Children Shall Lead, as well as episodes of Starsky and Hutch, Mission Impossible, and The $6 Million Man, among many others. He'll be back to write one more episode of this series. Arnold Lavin is this week's director. He was born in Chicago in 1922, and his career started making training films in the first motion picture unit of the Army Air Force, along with Captain Ronald Reagan, Captain Clark Gable, and Lieutenant William Holden. He also worked some as a producer and script supervisor, but mostly worked as a director of TV, and you can see his work in Rex Harrison Presents Stories of Love, Freebie and the Bean, and Shazam! He retired in the mid-'80s, but will be back for 2 more episodes of this series.
Is Shazam Billy Batson Shazam?
It's a series from the 70s, and I do not know.
It is. I was obsessed with it as a
Okay.
child. I didn't see the series itself. I had like a ViewMaster set of Shazam. So that's how I watched the 70s series Shazam through ViewMaster stills.
Sometimes you just got to yell Shazam.
Yeah. There's
mean,
also
Be careful where you do that, though, just in case.
Might summon Sinbad or something.
and there's a
Might accidentally summon the Trump supporting actor who thought he was going to be a big star, and then because his film flopped, he blamed it on woke.
Well, it's really a shame that he'll just work if you just yell Shazam. That he'll just show up to do your bidding. That's how.
that or
you
Cool
know.
and the Gang appears.
He's also in the Thor films, which is weird.
Oh yeah, what was he like a?
He's like
One
one
of
of
the
the
god
Warriors
people?
3. He's not anyone important.
Yeah, but like, aren't the other ones of those like Carl Urban and then like somebody else?
No,
who's
Carl Urban's a
awesome?
different
Uh,
god, and so is Idris Elba.
yeah, that cast is insane, man. He's like he's not even fit to be mentioned with those other
Yeah,
people,
and
even
like,
without the politics.
what's his chops? Him off Hannibal. Very,
Oh,
very
Mads-
famous actor. No,
Mads Mikkelsen.
no, the
Yeah.
original
Anthony
Hannibal.
Hopkins?
Anthony Hopkins,
Oh.
the name I somehow forgot.
That'd be cool. Mads
Shazam-
Mikkelsen should be in Thor doing something, but I don't know why.
Yeah, better than being in Doctor Strange doing
Strange
nothing
is
interesting.
Right.
Update on Shazam. It ran for 3 seasons and was paired up with The Secrets of Isis, which I believe was an even more nuts show.
Yeah, I bet that actor, what's his
Next
name? would
up
be
on
interested.
CBS, the Aged Horribly Hour with Shazam and the Secrets of Isis.
So it's basically like 70s Hercules and Xena paired up in an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, Luke, you were trivia.
Nothing ever changes.
You're being
I've
trivial.
never been triviaing anything.
Wait, what? Luke was giving us
Oh, did
trivia?
I say Luke? Oh, Mark, you were
Oh yeah,
being
this
trivial.
episode was filmed entirely on location in Barbados. The apes are all real.
Please, it
They
was
just
filmed
put the
in-
apes on set and they wrote the story around what they got up to.
Yes, it was entirely improvised. It's wild. They made up that thing about the pill.
That's why the
What the
acting's
hell?
so good in the pit, because he was fearing for his life. He was trapped in a hole with a gorilla.
Well, that is the plot.
Trapped with a gorilla. Speaking of gorillas,
I
as a
think you would be
semi,
quite safe trapped with a real gorilla compared to trapped with a Planet of the Apes gorilla. I don't think they're like aggressive.
isn't it something
Harambe
like
was
you-
innocent.
They're kind of
Yeah,
territorial,
absolutely.
though.
They should have shot the kid. But, you know,
Agreed.
But
Mark,
yeah,
why
I-
do we always end up on podcasts arguing for the murder of children?
I don't know. I feel like you and I together sometimes just do this thing where we steamroll everyone with like the kind of worst shit, but in the name of total righteousness, and I don't
Yeah,
understand.
we're, like,
the,
we're trying to one up each other with the worst thing we can say while pretending we're right.
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I know, I
It's
do
like-
enjoy it.
Yeah, but I think it's being trapped with a gorilla. It's something like you have to. It's like they won't mess with you unless you like really get in their face,
Mm.
right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, because they're not going to hunt you. They're not a predator or anything, but you don't want to mess with it.
I mean, one of the best things I've ever seen in my entire life was at the Atlanta Zoo. This is one of the last times I went to any zoo at all. Was the gorilla was just sitting at the top of a hill and like sitting on a log and was just like pooping. Just his crap was just rolling down the hill, and he was looking over his shoulder angrily, like he wanted everyone to see it rolling down the hill at them.
One
Just
of my favorite things
unbroken.
to see is people who go to the zoo and show the apes magic tricks.
What? Wait, what happens when that
They they they
happens?
they, they react because they're smart enough to be confused. So they're like,
Whoa.
oh,
Oh man, that's cool. I want to
yeah.
go back to the zoo and also learn magic tricks.
You can learn a few parlor tricks easily.
I mean, I could do the
Yeah,
the,
like you
the
can you
thumb.
can learn magic that's good enough to trick a chimpanzee or an orangutan. Maybe not good enough to be on stage in Vegas, but it's like I
Just
know
try.
enough magic to impress 4-year-olds.
I'm just gonna take a deck of cards and like go and be like, pick a card, and then keep screaming at him to pick a card. Like, why aren't you picking a card? Why aren't you picking a card? Okay. Well, anyway, speaking of gorillas, this week we got a lot of Mark Leonard as Urko. That's Leonard. He was born in 1924 in Chicago under the name Leonard Rosenson. That's Leonard, just to make things really confusing. His father ran a tourist resort in South Haven, Michigan, where he grew up. Uh, he entered the Army in 1943, managed to get discharged before seeing any combat, although he acted in theatrical productions during his service and later got a degree in theater and began a technical career in New York. Technical, theatrical career in New York. I've broken my own concentration with all this gorilla talk. Even though he first appeared on Star Trek as a Romulan commander in the episode Balance of Terror, most fans know him as Sarek, Spock's father. He played that role in the original series, animated series, Star Trek The Next Generation, and three,
Theatrical.
three theatrical, that's hard to say, three theatrical films. His appearance in Star Trek 6 was his second to last screen credit, as he died of cancer in 1996. But you can see him in The Girl with Something Extra, Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, and Mission Impossible. This is his third appearance on Planet of the Apes, and he'll be back for 8 more as Zacho. I think it's Zacho, right? Or was it Zako?
Back
Anyway,
I think
to
that
Norman
sounds
Zaka.
more sci-fi to me.
Zacho, Norman
Okay.
Alden. He was born in 1924, and he also served in World War II, and the GI Bill helped him get into college, where he discovered that he had a talent for acting. His resume stacks up to anyone's, as he appeared in They Live, Transformers the Movie, Ed Wood, Sledgehammer, and his credits total 256, which ran up until 2006, and he passed away 6 years later. This is his only visit to Planet of the Apes. John Milford plays Miller. That's the human guy. He was born in 1927, and he starred in a lot of westerns initially and eventually a little bit of everything, mostly on TV, such as Knight Rider, Freddy's Nightmares, Buck Rogers, and he has one credit playing Leonid Brezhnev on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. He will be back in one more Planet of the Apes episode as a different character. Cindy Eilbacher plays Lisa Miller. She was born in 1958 in Saudi Arabia. She'd already been working as a child star and kept on acting through the 90s. You could see her in 24 episodes of My Mother the Car, 10 episodes of The Waltons, and 72 episodes of The Young and the Restless, which is almost nothing because there are 13.2 thousand episodes of that show. This is her only appearance on the series, which is still a way higher percentage than her appearances on Young and the Restless. Um, anyway, here's the story of this episode. Burke, Virden, and Galen are being pursued by Urko and his guerrilla squad. They evade him and hide out in a friendly human village. The Millers take them in and see that they have some electronic components that might be part of a functioning computer that they could use. They are warned about frequent earthquakes, but they make the trip to San Francisco anyway. Urko finds the Millers later and harasses them, and although they try to cover for the three, Urko figures out where they went. But when he confronts them in the city, the ground collapses and traps Urko underground with Burke. Burke tries to convince Urko that they need to work together, but Urko is only interested in screaming and threatening him, especially after Burke tries to show Urko how impressive human civilization was. After lying to Urko about apes actually being the ones who made the things that humans made, he calms down and agrees to help. The other gorillas find Virden and Galen and don't believe that Urko is still alive until Burke is able to contact Virden using Morse code and is able to verify the name of Urko's wife to the other gorillas. As they're being lifted to safety, Urko betrays Burke by pulling a knife that he concealed earlier, but Burke is able to block him with an electric lamp that shocks Urko and makes him collapse. Commander Zacco lets the humans and Galen escape, although he tells Urko that he will execute them. He then finds a poster that Urko had concealed earlier and sees that it's an ape behind bars at a zoo from the time of human dominance, and he bitterly tears it up.
All
And
right. Bitter
the
tearings.
fugitives keep on walking.
Walking again. Yeah, it's
Walking
very
somewhere.
Incredible Hulk. They just walk off at the end of every
Yep.
episode.
I like that. So I've obviously this is the only episode I've seen so far, and it does feel like it's just every week you get like a bite-sized 45 minutes of a Planet of the Apes film. Like the twist ending here is literally the one they use in the most recent theatrical Planet of the Apes film, where they see apes in a zoo and they're like, "Oh my God, the humans did dominate us."
Yeah, so I guess it wasn't as original as the viewer thought. What do you know?
Would you guys be if like I don't know like a fish person from the distant past came and was like actually fish people made everything? Would you guys be really angry about it?
Well, think about
I
the
mean,
Spike's monkey trial. That got people pissed off, right?
also people love to claim that everything was built by the fucking fish people.
The
Yeah, I guess that's true.
fish people
Well,
built the
it's
pyramids.
Well,
it
maybe it's
like
a
that. If the dinosaurs came back, it's like, oh, they were intelligent dinosaurs, and like, yeah, they were mean to the mammals during dinosaur times. I'd be like, fine, because that's not us. Like the apes have evolved, right? So it's not like the current human intelligence apes were in a zoo.
Right.
I
I
guess
think that what
this
we're
is
getting
not
here,
us.
yeah, we're getting a big, dumb, angry gorilla in this one, though, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
he's more pissed off than the gorillas in the movies, you know?
Hmm.
I think it's one of
He's
those
got a
things
little
where
bit of the only good human is a dead human energy.
Right.
yeah, it's sort of like a thing where Star Trek. There's always some reflection of humanity, but the
Mm.
apes represent a specific type of human that are not really we're not a lot like them, and also a specific type of human from the mid 20th century that is
Yeah.
probably even harder to find now because well, it's like I don't
You
know.
wish.
Well, no, but no, it's not. It's not. It is that whatever the angry conservative playbook has changed. They don't
Hmm.
just like yell at you
Hmm.
anymore. You know what I mean? It's um
But yeah, I mean, this is definitely like
They've
this.
all
This
learned the
is
Gish Gallop.
This probably is the most cinematic feeling of the episode so far. I mean, the first one
Okay.
had our prop back. The last one we were just they're reusing things. They reused the spaceship prop in the first episode. They reused it like little Coliseum thing for the second for a little extra production. And I was watching this one being, where the hell did the budget for this one come from?
Oh, they must just have abandoned, destroyed city sets lying around
No, it
from.
turned out MGM was in the process of demolishing some of their backlot, so they were shooting in
Mm,
the in progress. Like they didn't even have to spend the money to demolish it. It was just like MGM was doing it, so they're like, "Hey, let's film a bit," which
nice.
works out because it looks good. I mean, it looks cinematic quality when they're going around the destroyed city or destroyed
Mm.
San Francisco or whatnot.
Yeah, like if you imagine watching this on like a 1977 TV set, it would be pretty indistinguishable from watching one of the films on a 1977 TV set.
Yeah, as we mentioned before, 10 of these episodes get paired up and they would show them as movies on television for years with
Hmm.
wild titles. Like, what
yeah,
is
big
it? Life,
long
Life.
life, liberty, and the pursuit on the Planet of the Apes
Yeah.
Oh
is one of
yeah.
them. I kind of love that. Like, why not just make a big long title for things? Like, where's a why can't we just have something that's like Star Wars in the age of cholera or something like that? I don't know. I
Well,
don't know.
you got Star Trek into darkness, but that didn't work out so
That's
well.
yeah, that's not the title's fault at all.
Star Wars, the Journal of the Wills, Part One, the
Yes,
Star Wars.
exactly. Now you're talking.
That's something we definitely missed. I think this episode did get paired up with the first episode as a movie. I'm kind of sitting here double checking on that.
Okay, when you wish upon a Star Wars and peace is wait, I was trying to make it something out of wars, and that's hard.
Yeah, anyway, in movie and TV
of the
movie land, this
roses.
this gets paired up with the first episode, which I'm sitting here thinking, does that make sense? You watch
Yes, it
Does the
does.
first
It really
episode
does.
end with them going on the lam?
yeah, and then
Yes.
okay, so Urko just catches up with him. Like we didn't I don't think we saw Urko in the second, we just saw one of his cronies, Jason the gorilla, so which is a great
Yeah,
name for a gorilla.
yeah, it's Jason. Now, the second one
Urko,
was like they
Zako,
go
and
to
Jason.
the second one is they go to a different place and do some other stuff and fight some humans, and then
It's
this
pretty
third one.
episodic. You can pair them up. I was just wondering how the narrative flow would be if you did watch them back to back, which none of us did. So, hey,
Well, what are you going to do? As soon as when you finish this series, you're going to go back and redo them all as the films
man, we didn't do that for
for a
Space
Of
second
1999.
series
course,
of the
of
podcast.
course, we'll do that. I think there's like some there's like some framing where Roddy McDowell comes out and talks to you at the beginning of this.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fun.
Also,
Kind of like when the Log Lady introduces Twin Peaks episodes.
but that's one of those weird things that like if you were a kid in like the early 80s, you might have just seen those on TV and just thought they were other Planet of the Apes movies and not
Oh,
known
I'm
there ever
sure.
was a series.
I don't think they were showing them by the time I was old enough to be like watching TV with an attention span. I feel like they had stopped showing them by the mid 80s. Did you catch any of those, Mark? Do you remember ever catching them?
No,
Because I
don't remember any
distinctly
of
remember
that.
watching the first two out the wazoo, and I would have been super excited if I'd known there. Because I didn't. I think they literally showed the first two on TV, and they didn't show these telefilms. So I feel like I was
This is
deprived of some of my apes. I guess it was just such a '70s thing, like the show, this podcast. We're just bringing on people, and it's like, hey, when can you record? We're doing this episode because. Even the people that remember it from the '70s, it's kind of vague, like, oh yeah, it's kind of fun. People aren't like, I love this one episode, you know? Or if someone out
I
there
mean,
does feel that way, please tell us. But
this is kind of hard to relate to for modern people, but we were broke. We had like one TV for the whole house,
hmm.
so I wasn't able to watch whatever I wanted to until I was like 10 or
I listen
9.
to people I know who have kids now, and they'll talk about like, oh, we're my kid wants to watch this, so we're watching this. My kid demands that we change the channel to this, and I'm like, when I was a kid, there was one TV in the house, and if my parents were watching something, we were watching that. I didn't get to come in while they're watching their show and be like, no, I want to watch cartoons.
Yeah, and I do remember like when we first got a VCR when I was probably like 9 or 10 and like doing that thing where, kids just do the thing where they watch the same thing over and over whatever they want to, and I still feel bad about that because it's like I can legitimately feel myself like eating. I can feel like what it would felt like to eat my brain away by watching one thing over and over.
Well,
Or
I did that, and the films were Commando, Terminator 2, Predator, and Raw Deal.
yeah, my I still couldn't show those to my mother now. Like she would not, she would have nothing of like that kind of violence.
My grandmother used to let me watch them, and when my parents finally found out when I was like 6, they were furious. But by then it was too late. The damage was done. I'd seen them all 100 times.
I mean,
No.
dude, if I like I don't know, my sister has like 4 kids, but she's in a weird evangelical thing and like if one or more of those kids runs away and then it ends up like taking refuge with me in like normal world,
Hmm.
like yeah, you guys are going to watch like The Fly right now. You guys are going to watch Videodrome. You're going to watch Evil Dead 2. I don't care. You need to it's time for you to see someone's guts ripped open.
There's some. So you're the weird
Yeah.
uncle. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I'm a weird. I don't know. Yeah, I,
No, when I was growing up, yeah, it was Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, after '87, Roger Rabbit, and the Trek films. Those were on high rotation. Of course, I have a daughter, and I've seen Moana, Frozen, and Zootopia way too many times, and Tinkerbell and the Pirate Fairy.
hmm.
It
I mean, Moana's really good.
is
Zootopia.
really good, just not after 30 times.
I feel weird about. I watched Zootopia like right during the Black Lives Matter protests, so I was like, this doesn't feel right.
Mm.
It didn't seem. I know I've probably said that on 100 podcasts, so it's like not new, but
No, I was seeing that one 2015 or something, 2016, whenever it came out. I don't remember.
but my mom did like Lost in Space and the Twilight Zone and Star Trek, so we would watch those.
Right.
So
But yeah,
that's
this one had most. I mean, yeah, it's weird how the apes was. I guess Star Wars just made everyone kind of forget about apes for a while, for the most part. Because people in monkey suits seem a little weird when you could slam an X-wing down a trench, you know?
Well, it's a really weird thing because there's sort of the same clean break there was with Space 1999, where it kind of just ended right before Star Wars, but it was because studios were just like, we can't spare the $12,000 an episode for this, so we're going to cancel it immediately. Where it's like, if it had just overlapped a little bit, they would have been like, oh, this makes a ton of money. Let's do, this. That's just a weird timing thing where it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense how they kept cutting the budget for these successful films, except
Mm,
for, I guess, except for in the sense that it makes sense that they make more money that way.
right. Um, getting back to the episode a little bit, I also was really starting to like kind of chart that the music in this is pretty kicking. Like also pretty much on a keel with the movies. I mean, Jerry Goldsmith's a pretty high standard, but it's. I mean, you got the guy that wrote the Mission Impossible theme doing it, right?
Yeah, but it's. I don't want to say it's not super hard to copy that style, but it's probably not super hard to copy that. But they did a good job with it. It's not,
It's
you
not just
know,
like crap 70s TV music, is what I'm saying. Have you played the Ape
yeah.
Shuffle yet, by the way? Oh,
No.
you need to play the Ape Shuffle. Luke, this is Lalo Schifrin who does the music, put out a single to promote the show called the Ape Shuffle. And
Oh yeah.
it's a funk track with someone in the background going like "Ooh, ooh, ah, ah, ooh, ooh, ah, ah." It's pretty funny. So I recommend the Ape Shuffle to anyone. It is on YouTube, of course.
We'll just do a special episode about the Ape Shuffle.
It occurred to me if it had a video, yeah, I guess you could. There's got to be some fan made
Huh.
video or something.
Oh, you know how bad, like how crappy YouTube is now? As I put in Ape Shuffle into YouTube and it's just showing me Apple Shuffle. It's showing me like iPod shuffles.
We'll type in
It's
Laylo
like
as well.
it cannot just show me what I want.
Hmm. Right. Um, does making this San Francisco make things more confusing, or does it not matter because it's a TV show and we can be in California now?
I wasn't confused.
Well, I'm just like we like when we were doing the movies, we were talking about how the geography is so confusing and wonky, and and in the first episode of this, we were talking about that too. And but it's like this is San Francisco, and then we saw that picture of 26th century New York, which looked like super futuristic. So, what the hell's going on?
Well, I do think that someone in San Francisco would have a picture of New York, but still, it's the problem is the whole series. The only time it commits to geography when it's like, hey, it's Statue of Liberty.
Well,
That's
this one
pretty
got
much
down
it.
to it's the BART.
I guess technically, could you hit the Statue of Liberty with like a missile and then blow it like all the way to California?
That's always been
That
my
seems to be what's happened in the first film.
right. That's kind
Yeah.
of what I've settled down on. That yeah, it shot across like a missile and landed in Malibu.
Or like the Cloverfield monster did it. They like grabbed Statue of Liberty's head and threw it all the way to California.
No, no, that's just actually the Vegas Statue of Liberty in the first film, not the
Yeah, of
original.
course. In
Actually,
the
that would make a
yeah,
lot of sense.
in the year 2400, like all of the major cities had statues of liberty.
Yeah,
Mm.
They made a big giant 3D printer and just made like hundreds of.
that sounds like something like America would do. Like, we don't want to actually give them liberty, but if we build a Statue of Liberty in every city, maybe that'll convince them they have liberty.
Yeah, well, at least definitely the United States of this era, they would do that. Now they
Yeah,
would just cut. They would just fire people and
yeah,
take
but
away their everything.
actually, the building a Statue of Liberty in every city makes more sense than the it shooting across the country and landing in Malibu. So I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I did
uh,
like the brief little like just here's some sci-fi ideas we thought of as he walks down the aisle and shows all the different posters to us.
It's
well,
so
what
fun.
it
It's like
sounded.
BioShock or Fallout kind
It had
of.
big BioShock energy, you're right there.
Okay,
Yeah.
what it made me think of is the Mighty Criswell's album, spoken word album. Probably because I sampled it once and put in a musical track. But yeah, he's talking about, he's like,
Oh, is that the brain
push button
surgery will
world.
be available by yeah. I
Bye.
always assumed that was your voice.
No, 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 that's the Mighty Criswell from Ed Wood and such.
Ah.
I mean the real one from actual Ed Wood movies, not as
Yeah,
played
not
by.
the
Let's not talk about who played him in the Tim Burton movie.
yeah, objectively definitely less evil than the person who played him.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with a Mighty Crizzle, I think. I mean, I don't know. He was a dude in the 50s, so that in Hollywood, so that might have been a problem. But
Yeah, well, let's just not dig that up.
let's not dig in that, and let's think of Criswell as a funny, fun man. But yeah, that's what. And talking about because the pill meal one, I'm like, why was that such an idea back in the day? Mark, I guess that's you want to do that retro futurism podcast. So it's like, why do people want a meal and a pill? I like to sit down and
Well,
enjoy
Yeah, I
my meal.
like food.
I mean, that is a topic I want to go over, but it's
Mm.
like, yeah, I think that's going to be one of those where we're going to be like, no, no one wants this. But there are genuine, okay, Soylent. I mean, there are definitely people who it's rare that you find them, but every once in a while you'll talk to someone who's just like, yeah, it's so inconvenient to eat. I just want to get it over with.
When
But
Soylent Green
it's
has
the
that
same people.
scene.
It's the same people who like AI, right?
Mm.
It's the people who have accidentally proven that the soul exists by showing us what it looks like when you don't have one.
Well, yeah, it's there's got to be a thing where I'm trying to think of something that I don't like that everyone else likes,
Because
and
even
I just
Soylent
can't.
Green has that scene where, like, they have a little bit of real food and they make like practically like a ceremony out of eating it, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and Soylent's not a pill. At least you can like throw a bit of Soylent on your plate and maybe get a knife and fork out in the street that as you're laying next to people. Sorry, I'm just getting to the overcrowd thing of that movie. Fun
They're showing that
dystopia.
film in a cinema here very soon.
Oh, speaking of which, the sets being destroyed in this were used in Soylent Green.
Oh yeah.
So, so there's actually a very direct connection. When I was looking at the trivia on my own, it was like one of the last things filmed before they started tearing it down was Soylent Green. So I'm not too far off topic, at least not
Yeah.
as far as like location wise.
I
Soylent
Um,
think
Green
someone
looks
who's
great.
listening to a 70s Planet of the Apes TV show podcast is probably fine with a Soylent Green tangent, to be
yeah.
fair.
Yeah, they're
No, no.
pointing at the podcast and screaming Soylent Green.
Now, Mark, again, your note was Mark Lennar is just like, or Urko is just yelling at people and throwing them. So my quote,
Yep.
I think I translated him a little bit. The earth may be shaking, but you will be killed by me. I feel like that's almost like I think I didn't change it much though.
I
I think
don't
that's
know.
pretty
That sounds
close
like
to the
something
quote.
you'd write, but
You know,
yeah,
he does say something like, "Yeah, that might kill you, but I will kill you."
yeah,
Yeah.
he's so good. Like, what did we do to deserve such an awesome gorilla? Like, he's so great. I want to see him do like a one gorilla show where he just like screams about how shitty everything is.
I mean, he does steal the show from Roddy in this episode, not which is a pretty big '70s ape accomplishment.
Yeah, this is the first one where Roddy sort of sits back and like lets everybody else kind of take center stage,
Yeah, he's
which
just kind of making noises for a while, which is always fun for him just being. Hmm?
But yeah, there were a lot of scenes where he was just making little monkey noises, and I was like, "Is this like a we pay Roddy McDowell by the line thing?"
I think. Well, the thing with Roddy is, he had like his prosthetic like carved out a little bit so he could twitch his nose. That
Mm.
wasn't some, the only other one. His son in Battle of the Planet of the Apes. Actually got permission from Roddy to do the same thing so he could be like Caesar's son. But I think that's part of it. Since he can do that, that's kind of his like tick now, just like, making the monkey noise and twitching his nose, you know?
Mm.
is
Well,
it
also he has more experience playing an ape than anyone else on Earth at this point in time. So,
Right, right.
it might be if
except
they
maybe
just
the guy
let
we interviewed for 2001, who just played it over and over and over and over for Stanley
that's
Kubrick,
right.
but we only got to see 40 minutes of that.
I bet if Roddy McDowell could have done like three more seasons of this, he would have been like pretty fascinatingly unhinged by the end of it. I took down the line where he's like where Burke is like moving stuff and then Urko says, "I'm not someone who does human labor," and then he asks him, "Do you enjoy suffocating?" I love that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a pretty good line.
I'm just taking a look through mine. I actually mixed up the ape henchman this week with what was it,
So,
Zacho?
so to here's the elephant in the room for me. How is it possible that electricity is still working?
He explains it because I've made the same thing when they
He
first
said it
went
runs
down.
on nuclear power.
Or actually,
Oh,
he
yeah,
says
okay.
solar power. He says there must still be a solar array set up somewhere. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, because my first thought is, well, there's lights down here. That's insane. But they're to their credit, 70 shows don't have to explain it. They could just keep going, and but they do actually take time to explain it. So I actually saw that as a now would it still be working at this point? Seems kind of insane, but whatever. I'll take it.
Yes,
Well, you gotta think.
nothing we make today is going to be working in a thousand years. They don't build shit that way anymore.
Well, it's almost like you have to think in terms of that if you're living in the 70s, you've probably only known like late industrial revolution stuff that has lasted. You probably have stuff in your house from the 50s that still works. So in your head, I always think like
Yeah,
people
they
talk about Star Wars being like lived in, and that's why Star people love Star Wars. Like people love Star Wars because of the fantasy of something so that it's obviously decades old and still works perfectly and you can fly through space in it because
hmm
like the assumption I'm sure was well if we can make stuff in the 50s that could last for 20 years then in the 80s and 90s we'll be able to make stuff that lasts for hundreds of years.
I
Of
mean,
course that's what's going to happen.
we could,
Eh,
but there's less profit in that than making something that needs to be replaced in a couple of years.
Oh,
yeah.
speaking of which, nuclear power was the trains. He said the trains were
Yeah,
nuclear
yeah, yeah.
powered. How do you feel about boarding a nuclear powered train? That sounds like a really
um
bad idea.
it sounds awesome. I'm into it.
That happens
Okay.
in the Dark Tower, and it doesn't go well.
Isn't the Snowpiercer train nuclear? Probably is.
No, it's
I
powered by
no.
kids. Remember?
Oh, that's right. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Forgot.
make
Speaking
a
of
point out
Soylent
of
Green.
that. But yeah, I mean, I guess people get nuclear powered submarines, but that's you're in a certain mindset when you're submariners. Uh, apparently have a different way of thinking, is what I've heard from YouTube videos.
I mean, I would go insane in a submarine. I've already
Oh
gone on
yeah,
record as
that's
saying that, but whether it's nuclear or not, that doesn't even matter to me. But I guess I'd go more insane if it was nuclear. I don't know. If it was huge, then I'd probably be able to live with it.
yeah. When he's talking about the future stuff, or Pete's explaining the future stuff, yeah, he goes the pills, the again the medicine stuff is Mighty Criswell. I did think his telephone description seemed kind of accurate, though. He was kind of describing the future of telephones a bit there.
Yep.
Hmm.
I guess. I don't know. It's just funny when you get all that futurist stuff and like 80% of it's insane, and then the other 20%, oh, that part's kind of right. And that's what happens when you go back and 120 years ago they predicted this correctly. It's like, yeah, they also predicted this, and this at the same time.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
But
Any.
you see that on a much smaller scale with people who predict like sports results or like what films and games are coming out. They just predict everything possible, and then they go back and delete the ones that didn't come true, so they can be like, look at my amazing predictions record.
Simpsons predicted everything.
Well, well, I've definitely seen people say like, "Look, I know Trump Bitcoin is down, but you should really buy some now because it's going to come back. Bitcoin always comes back." And I have to say that if you're listening to this and considering buying Trump Bitcoin, you should definitely buy as much of it as you possibly can
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're
because it
interested in
definitely
buying Trump Bitcoin, you should.
definitely buy as much as you can.
I don't know. Actually,
This is going over my
I
head, to be
get the
honest.
joke, but actually, don't do that
No,
because they're
I am
enriching the
joking.
people we hate. But the people
Yeah.
buying it, they're victims.
Well, chances are there's at least two or three pieces of crap who are like still profiting off of it
That's what
without
I mean. Like
being involved.
the people profiting are much worse than the people buying it,
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure
who
Mark
Yeah.
heard
have
of
just been
this.
led astray.
I'm sure Mark heard of this, but Luke, did you hear about the Trump guitars?
No.
They're sold for like Gibson prices. They're probably made in China and just have like big eagles and it says, "Make America Great Again" on the fretboard. It's like, who's buying this? Overpriced,
Uh,
like
oh,
who's
here it
People
is.
making the
Get Trump.
worst music you've ever heard.
Oh no. Oh my God. No, it looks like it looks like someone went into Photoshop and took like a Gibson, but then replaced the sunburst with like an eagle with a flag with the stars and stripes with some fireworks with some, it's like tacky American art garbage And
No,
there's
most of the posts I saw was like, no, this is a real thing. This is not a joke. This is not a meme. And so, like, every article had to like convince you like it was not a joke.
But because
you can
the difference between what these people think is cool and what people making fun of them do is there's no difference.
Right.
It's the same picture.
Um, I wonder
you
if I would accept that in the 70s every astronaut needed to know Morse code. The Twilight Zone also proved that for 60s astronauts. I wonder if astronauts today actually I can't imagine everyone going to the ISS
Well,
knows
don't
Morse
most
code.
astronauts come from like the Air Force, right?
That's 60s, 70s, so for sure then. Now I'm thinking there's more
Yeah.
scientists and things where they might have not bothered to learn that,
But it's probably
um
just a good thing to learn if you're doing anything where you might end up stranded alone somewhere.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
mean
Yeah, I guess you start tapping on a bulkhead, that makes sense. Although space, if it's an
No, but
inside
like
outside thing.
once you've landed in the sea or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean my mom just sort of taught me Morse code when I was a kid, just
Just in
casually, and
case.
I forgot it
Oh, you forgot it. Okay.
entirely. But
Mm,
I knew it at one time because it
mm.
was just something to learn. I don't know if I'd never ever had a chance to use it or a case or use
Yep.
it.
You use it or you lose it, right?
I'll tell you what I would do if I was trapped. I would just start tapping just so someone heard it, and they probably don't know Morse code, but then when they hear the tapping, they'll think, "Man, that
Oh,
guy
that's
who's
Morse
trapped
code.
is really smart. He knows Morse code."
I
And that's it.
That scene
mean,
can give you a
everyone
headache
knows
though.
SOS, right? So
I
Yeah.
guess I think of the RKO logo. No, it's not SOS and RKO logo, is it?
it's dot dot
I
dot
think
dash
that's
dash dash.
RKO.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
The only reason it is
So I know
SOS is because
RKO.
it's the easiest.
Oh, okay. I guess I know RKO, not
It's like
SOS.
something like that,
Yeah,
right?
okay. Yeah. But if I had to transmit a SOS, I think I'd screw it up.
Beep
I
beep beep
mean, what
beep
if you
beep
got it
beep
backwards? It's
beep
still
beep beep
SOS.
beep beep beep.
Yeah, I'd start like tapping out beats on it, like without noticing. Right.
What's
Anyway,
that?
yes,
Someone
just
send
like
it
that.
in.
That's why I was
You'll
saying that
start
scene
playing the
give
ape
you a
shuffle.
headache.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yes, Urko finds just a fantastic looking shiv. So, and then he has those
Oh
amazing
yeah.
gloves where he can hide like pictures and shivs. Those are really
Hey, I'm
some of the
like,
most useful gloves I've ever seen.
how many things is he gonna take inside of his huge gloves? It's
He's got a
like,
marmalade sandwich in there for emergencies.
Yeah, yeah. They don't have backpacks. The gorillas don't have backpacks. They have gloves.
uh, he could have hidden like 100 food pills in there and eaten for like a month.
Like a king.
Yeah.
Ape King. Um, Also, I guess that's a newer movie. Um, I did think when they were finally pulling them out, Burke's foot, this is just a blocking thing. I was like, they should have probably held that slab up a little longer. It looked like Burke's foot was about to eat it on the way out?
It did look a little tenuous of an operation,
I
but
guess it's hard to hold up a slab of concrete with horses, though. So.
I mean,
I
all I
also
was
assume they
thinking,
didn't have like they never quite showed anyone looking up through the hole or down through the hole because obviously they didn't really have a hole. But they did a pretty good job of like these guys are going up and those guys are going down, and
Well,
you
yeah,
believe they're sort of connected.
for most of it, they're like, "Oh, the hole got filled in. There's no way to see up or down." And then it's just like 5 seconds at the end where there's like a suggestion that maybe you could.
yeah, they can't show us everything because obviously
I
they
know
don't
they
know.
couldn't show hole in the 70s.
At least not on TV.
Not ape hole.
uh,
I guess they could show ape hole.
yeah.
It's not human hole, but
Well, they
if you
couldn't
got
show
both,
cat hole in cats, right?
I
yeah,
will never watch it until they release that cut.
You're gonna have to
I
eventually.
No, I
I
will
don't
refuse. I will play it as an
I
audio podcast and not look at the screen.
I I truly I don't believe that there ever was one of those, but I do believe that someone will make.
Yeah.
By the time we get to that, someone will make that because that's not that difficult.
Certainly, it exists now. I don't know.
I would have heard about it.
Scenes
There's
probably exist. I don't think the whole film does.
there's a good use for AI.
Well, that probably
No,
is the thing to do.
takes away jobs from a real pervert.
Mm. So let's start throwing some questions. We around here, since it's 70s stuff, we like to compare the existential dread and sci-fi fun with percentages of both. Mark, you went last time. You went first, or did I go? I went first last time. You go first
Oh,
this time, unless
oh,
I'm
okay.
wrong.
I'm gonna go 50-50 because 50% are in a hole and 50% are not in a hole. Actually,
Okay.
no, 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 no. I'm gonna go actually 60 dread because there was a lot of people almost getting killed in this.
Okay. See, I was thinking there. Oh, I got to go 60 for my dread because most of the episode involves a gorilla screaming at you. You know.
Yeah, that's it's hard not to be a little bit like concerned when that's
I mean,
happening.
being
It
intimidated could be a little bit like dread. I don't know.
Yeah.
it definitely felt like it was going for dread, but it felt more like fun to me. Like I think if this was one of the Planet of the Apes films and they had a bit more time to build dread, and also it didn't have the TV thing of like, well, I know these three survive, then it might have landed a bit more dread for me. But no, I
Hmm.
didn't. I got where they were going for some dread, but it didn't really come through for me.
I guess for us, sort of, hitting this as the third episode, it's
Mm,
like this is the first time we're getting this particular flavor, which we haven't, which I guess we didn't get in the first movie either. This doesn't really kick in until Beneath, and there's a
mm,
little bit because they find the suburb or whatever with the human doll and stuff in the first
yeah.
movie. So,
But the first one has a different kind of like existential dread of the like you're so desperate for him to get his point across, and the apes are just being so stubborn. Like the frustration in the first one that you feel for Taylor's position is so real.
right.
Like
Whereas
Mercy
this one is
struggled
just
to watch it. Like,
here we just have an angry, pissed off villain ape. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
that you're right.
Oh,
It is more like beneath.
and it's also just it's like an ideological thing where it's like it doesn't really matter whether humans ruled or not, but it's like these apes are so pissed about the possibility that they might find out the truth, that
Well, it makes a
you
bit
have
more
to.
sense in this world actually than in the world of the films because here, where the humans can talk, like there is like a need to maintain that illusion, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm reading a book currently about like the kings of England throughout history, and basically the first king who got his throne like usurped, that was basically the beginning of the end for the concept of kings, because the whole point was meant to be right. They have this divine right to rule, and as soon as you prove to the public that like no, just if a guy is strong enough, he can just take the throne,
Well, and
then
that's
the whole
why.
artifice comes down.
well, that was Movie Zayas' thing. Movie Zayas knew, which none of the apes in this really know. So,
But at the end, he knows and
Well,
decides to destroy the evidence, right?
but, I mean, Zayas seems to have pretty deep knowledge. Like he's known
Oh,
this for
Zayas
a
knows.
long time. Yeah,
I I'm
I
not
get the
Movie
really
impression in
Zayas.
the first
sure.
movie Zayas had been there, right? Like
Yes, exactly.
he'd already discovered this himself.
And he was concealing for that reason. Like once the first incident happens, you've opened Pandora's box,
But
right?
like in that world, it's less true because the humans were like um non-verbal beasts.
Yeah,
It's
but
not like
I
they
don't
were
know. Does
going to
that?
rise up necessarily in the same way.
I guess we don't have another species that has like a proper or not a verbal form of communication with us. So it's kind of hard to figure out what the difference would be,
Yeah,
vibe wise.
um, we people used to think we did, and it was other races.
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to go on the modern sensibility of not trying to put it out
Well,
that
no, but that's
version.
what Planet of the Apes was made in the '60s, right? The scars of that sort of racial inequality was what was fueling that film.
That was
Right,
still
right.
being writ yeah, that the civil rights movement was like happening when the fourth film came out. So yeah, it's like this is
Well, that's why it was edited, right? The studio's like, oh, people are gonna watch this and then they're gonna riot because it's gonna,
no, they edited it because
Because audiences found it to be a bummer and they
yeah, they
want to
just
Right.
sell
didn't like it,
tickets.
which I could kind of see that. Like you don't necessarily want your hero to like execute the guy at the end, even if the guy was definitely terrible and should have been executed. But it's
Have
like
you seen the second Venom film, Mark?
not yet. No, I've only seen the
Uh,
first.
I want to tell you about a scene at the end, but it's kind of a spoiler.
Mm.
Should I
But
watch?
it's
Is it worth watching?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Okay,
very fun. Like it's
cool.
dumb, but it's fun. If you like the first one, you like the second one.
First one, I liked the first one okay. I wasn't like crazy about it, but it was like fun enough. It was
I think it benefited from the incredibly low expectations everyone had.
yeah, it was like way better than Morbius or Black Adam or um I don't know,
Adam Webb.
something. I haven't even seen that yet.
Okay.
I
Just
heard that was
Craven the Hunter.
funny.
Just trying to rock out all
I heard
these.
Madam Web was actually funny, like it was that
Madam
bad.
Web's funny bad, and also like Morbius is more funny, I think, but like in a cringe way.
Mm.
Yeah,
Madam
Morbius
Web,
was
and
just
also Madam Web is like it's better shot than anything Marvel's ever made.
that's well, that's the thing is Morbius did have some like it looked really good sometimes.
Its fight scenes
And
look terrible because they did that weird like warping effect around every movement anyone did.
yeah, I'm just talking about the
But like,
general like sometimes the sets
yeah.
looked really good and
And
the
then you had Matt Smith
soundtrack
having
was
the time
good.
of his life.
Yeah, that's I was gonna say Matt Smith's performance in that was probably top five Marvel anything.
Yeah.
So like, if you just took him and put him in a Thor movie or something, you know,
Oh,
instead of
back to that,
wasting
I rate it.
Christian Bale without giving him anything to do,
Yeah,
which that was also a good performance, but it was like 10 minutes.
I
Anyway,
want to see the film that Christian Bale thought he was making during that.
yeah.
Terminator as well.
Oh no, I don't
Well,
want to see the film Christian Bale decided to make. That's the problem with Terminator.
Okay.
yeah,
I
and
wanted, I
that
wanted to
was
see the film they were making before Christian Bale decided, no, it's about me.
Mm.
yeah,
Well, one
but
post-apocalyptic hellscape to another one. How many bananas for the trap? Seven's a bunch. You can go up to seven for your bananas.
8, fuck you.
Okay, you're giving an
I
extra
assume
banana.
do you bleep that on this one?
Huh?
I said, do you bleep
I
that on this one?
No,
You're gonna put
technically
eight
we
noise?
should, but I
we've
don't
already
think
had the
Matt ever
discussion twice on the
does.
podcast.
I don't think
Just put
Matt
a
does.
little over it.
Just like
Monkey.
gorilla sounds.
um,
I'm giving this, you know what? I'm just giving this like 7 bananas buried underneath a a one large, I don't know, a chocolate ice cream.
okay, so it's
The
like a
chocolate
banana
ice
split.
cream represents the angry gorilla.
Hmm.
So there you
I'm, I'm
go.
I'm gonna give it 6 bananas, but with no peels, because I don't like the peels.
No one
Uh,
likes the peels. They're there to. Your bananas are going to go bad real fast, Matt.
Yeah, but the smell of the peels drives me away from most bananas. If there's no peel around the banana, I'll eat it.
That is bizarre.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of anything where I don't like the smell of. I I guess I like. I don't really like the
We
feeling of an egg when you break it.
we can hook
I
you
don't
up with
know.
some natto in Japan.
Yeah, but I also
No, I
deny
don't
the
think we
taste
will.
or the texture. It's not like it smells bad, but then I enjoy it.
I mean,
What was
yes, yesterday, these elementary school girls invaded my classroom, and so I couldn't just hang out in there. And then they
Mm.
were also eating like frickin' dried fish crackers, so then it just smelled terrible when I got in there.
I got
oh
absolutely
man,
murdered by a child yesterday.
Mm.
We
You
were
dead now?
practicing. We were practicing
still
some
alive.
listening, and no, it was a reading test, and there was the word century, and he didn't know it. So I was doing the thing. I was like covered up the last few letters. I was like, so cent, right? Like 50 cents. Well, that means out of 100. So century, it's 100 years. And then he gets his phone out, types into Google Translate, and it's like, why do you look so smug?
Because I found a fun teaching hack. That's why.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, this kid I've known him for years, and he's a funny little fucker. But yeah, we were.
Yeah.
I was I felt absolutely got, but also it was really really funny.
At least he was original about it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I mean,
He is a funny guy. I like him a lot. The first
I,
lesson I had of him, like when I started teaching him this year, he's like, "Oh yeah, this is my last lesson. I'm leaving." And I was like, "Oh, that's a shame." And like we talked about it. Absolutely not true. He just said that for a laugh.
oh my god. I thought of something Japanese that I found unpleasant. It was like Matt, when we were eating at Sushi Yoko, I think it was, and I ordered something that said something like sticky papaya or something like that.
Was
Oh
that durian? Did you get a durian?
It was just like a pile of snot, and it
yeah,
wasn't like
because
sweet
yeah,
tasting.
everyone famously like stinky veg fruit that everyone hates.
Yeah, so I thought it was like, oh, a fruit. I think
it is a fruit.
anyway. Well,
It's just the
No,
wrong fruit.
a friend of mine and my friend Theo and I have a thing where we've been like occasionally just buy durian snacks just to like freak people out. And it's gotten to the point where we're actually just eating them and enjoying them, but it's definitely like, hey, try this. And then people are just like, oh, it's
My
like,
friend
Dried
Colin
durian's
used to buy
fun.
like roasted ants on the internet. So he can sit and like eat them on the bus just to freak people out.
man, that's amazing.
There's nothing
But
wrong with
yeah,
dried durian though, without the smell. I mean, that's I have a sensitive sniffer, I guess is my thing.
Mm.
I'm just talking about like the little wafers with the cream that are like
Mm.
durian flavored, where it's like you take the first bite and then you're like breathing out durian, like you could feel the durian like inside of your sinus cavity.
That doesn't
It's
sound
like,
fun.
That's why,
I can
listeners, if you're
absorb
ever attacked by a mat in the wild, you have to punch it in the nose.
that.
yep. And then throw a banana peel. You don't have to leave it out and from
Just keep
slip on it.
banana
You just
peels
throw
around.
it
I'll,
at
I'll I'll avoid the area.
him. Throw it at him.
I guess we'll wrap this one up. I guess the only note I have is did Alan Naruto run in the middle of this episode?
I didn't catch
Um,
that, but I wish I had.
When they're running, it's right before Roddy spends a minute of making weird monkey noises in my notes. So
I don't think that happened, but it's
when
not
they
impossible.
they run across the street or something while the gorillas are kind
Rolling
of sniping.
around at the speed of sound. I got places to go. Gotta follow my rainbow.
Exactly.
Rainbows. If you want to follow our rainbow, head for podcastios.org, where we do lots of podcasting like this, Films and Filth, where the three of us talk about highly and lowly rated IMDb movies. Luke loves Pokemon, where he talks about that. Time Enough Podcast, where I talk about the Twilight Zone. And Monster Mash is starting up next month, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
about
if you want
it.
to get more of your apes fix, I did a bunch of videos last year for Ape Year 2024, where I watched all the Planet of the Apes films. I played all the Donkey Kong Country games. Um, and I think you can find all of those on my YouTube or my TikTok. Just search Luke Summerhayes.
He's not Naruto running. He was just doing a weird thing where he was kind of running up the stairs while like moving his arms,
Okay.
which looks weird. He wasn't like interacting
Okay,
with the
at least it
staircase.
looks weird. But
He was running weird. You got him on that.
oh my God, Mark's disappearing. It's his feared sinkhole.
What this single motorboat me?
You said you're terrified of sinkholes, right? So
Yeah,
you're worried
but then
about
he
one
went.
right now. So that's this noise. That's the sound of sinking.
I think it's
Okay.
more like
The sound
Yeah, but I didn't think that
of
the
sinking.
Zoom's good. If I go Zoom, I think takes that out of the recording. Like it doesn't pick that up. I thought it might pick up. I have to think about what the
Oh.
mic will pick up with Zoom.
That's
Man,
why
there's
I
so
do
many.
local recordings.
That's gonna screw up everyone's sound effects in the future.
I was screaming really loud at 6 a.m. in the morning on a game show recently. Zoom didn't pick it up. But luckily, I use a local recording.
Wait, Luke, the other like a couple of weeks ago you said Mark at the end of a game show after you were doing a bit. Was that like a fear.com.com joke?
I cannot remember for the life of me. When I record a podcast, it exits my head.
Yeah. I figured as much. I just
You
didn't
have to,
even
because then
well,
you
I
can
didn't even
listen to
think
it
to
later.
bring it
Yeah.
up.
Okay, I'm gonna stop this recording,
But
which is not local.